The city was quiet that night. Neon lights flickered on the broken streets and the rain tapped softly on the windows of a small apartment. Inside that apartment lived a man named Daniel. He was an ordinary human. Nothing special, nothing heroic. He worked in a repair shop during the day, fixing machines that nobody cared about. At night, he sat alone, counting the little money he had left. Daniel was tired of his life. Rent was late. His job paid almost nothing. Every day felt the same, gray, heavy, and hopeless. But on that rainy evening, something happened that would change his world forever. A knock on his door. It was soft at first, like someone testing if he was home. Daniel frowned. He was not expecting anyone. He got up slowly and walked to the door. When he opened it, his eyes widened. There stood a woman unlike any he had ever seen. She was tall, her skin faintly glowing like silver under the streetlight. Her eyes were large, shining like two small moons. She wore a long cloak that shimmered with colors that seemed alive, changing every second. Even though she looked human in shape, Daniel knew at once she was not from Earth. The woman spoke, her voice smooth but strange, as if two voices overlapped. "Are you Daniel?" Daniel's throat went dry. "Yes. Who are you?" She stepped inside without asking. The room filled with a faint smell of ozone like after a storm. She looked around, scanning his poor apartment with calm eyes, then turned back to him. "My name is Sarana," she said. "I am not from your world. I need your help, and I will pay you more than you can imagine." Daniel blinked. For a moment, he thought he was dreaming. "You're an alien?" he whispered. Sarana tilted her head. "If that is the word you use, yes. I come from far beyond your stars." She moved closer, and Daniel felt a chill. "I need a husband, for a short time, and you must pretend to be him." Daniel almost laughed, but her serious expression stopped him. "Wait, what? You want me to be your husband? Why me?" Sarana's glowing eyes locked on his. "Because you are ordinary. No one will expect you. And because you are desperate." Daniel froze. How did she know? Sarana lifted her hand and a small device glowed in her palm. A hologram appeared. Images of his life, his debts, his empty bank account. Daniel felt exposed, naked. She already knew everything about him. "I can pay. You," Sarana said. "Enough to erase your debts, enough to give you a new life." Her voice grew sharper. "But there is no time. I must leave soon. Choose now." Daniel's heart raced. It sounded insane. Pretend to be an alien's husband? Travel to God knows where? But at the same time, the temptation was strong. All his problems gone with one decision. He swallowed hard. Why do you need a fake husband? What's really going on? For the first time, Sarana looked away. There was something in her eyes. Fear. "If I return home without a husband, I will lose everything. My family will strip me of my rights, my position, my freedom. My enemies are waiting. They want me weak." She turned back to him. "You will protect me. You will stand at my side. That is all you must do." Daniel felt sweat on his palms. Something about her tone told him this was more than just a family drama. Something darker was hidden beneath her words. He tried to stall. "And if I refuse?" Sarana's face became cold. "Then you will never see me again. You will stay here in your broken life until it ends in silence." She stepped closer, her silver glow brushing against his skin. "But if you agree, your story begins tonight." Daniel's chest tightened. His instincts screamed that this was dangerous. But behind that danger was a chance to escape his hopeless life. He closed his eyes for a moment, then whispered, "I'll do it." Sarana's expression softened. She reached out, touched his hand, and he felt a strange warmth spread through him, as if her touch carried energy. "Good," she said simply. Without another word, she turned and opened the door. But outside there was no street, no rain. Instead, a soft glow filled the doorway like a window into another world. A silver ramp extended into the apartment. Daniel stared. "That's your ship?" Sarana nodded. "Step inside. From this moment you are my husband." His legs trembled, but he forced himself to move. He walked beside her, up the ramp, into the glowing light. The air grew heavy, humming with strange energy. As soon as he crossed the threshold, the ramp pulled back, and the door closed behind them with a metallic hiss. The apartment, the rain, the earth, all gone. Daniel was inside something alive, something bigger than he could understand. The walls of the ship pulsed faintly as if they were breathing. Sarana stood tall beside him, her cloak now glowing brighter. "You belong to my world now," she said. Daniel tried to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. He realized he had just stepped into a bargain that might cost more than he expected. The ship trembled, and in the next moment, it rose into the sky, vanishing into the stars. And with that, Daniel's strange deal had begun. The ship moved faster than Daniel's mind could understand. One moment he saw the city lights far below. The next, the stars stretched like long rivers of silver. He grabbed the wall to steady himself, but the wall was warm, almost alive, as if the ship was breathing around him. Sarana walked ahead with calm steps. Her silver glow lit the narrow path, and her cloak flowed behind her like water. Daniel followed, his heart still beating too fast. He had agreed to this madness, pretend to be her husband, pretend to belong in a world that wasn't his. But now, as the ship carried him away from Earth, doubt filled his mind. Finally, Sarana stopped and turned. Her glowing eyes studied him. "You are afraid?" she said softly. Daniel forced a shaky laugh. "Afraid? I just stepped into an alien ship with a woman who says she bought me as her husband. Of course I'm afraid." Her expression did not change. "Good. Fear keeps humans alive. But listen carefully. If you wish to survive, you must learn my secret. You must understand why I brought you." She led him into a chamber. The walls curved high like the inside of a cathedral, glowing with soft blue veins of light. In the center floated a table, but it wasn't wood or metal. It shifted like liquid, holding its shape. Sarana raised her hand, and the table came alive. Holograms appeared, images of alien cities, tall spires of crystal that touched the skies, oceans glowing in strange colors, ships flying like silver birds. Daniel's mouth fell open. "This is your world?" "Yes," she said quietly. Her voice held both pride and sorrow. "This is Zalira, my home, a world where beauty hides danger." The images changed. Daniel saw people like her, tall, glowing, elegant. But then darker shapes appeared, soldiers in black armor carrying weapons that crackled with blue fire. The air in the room felt colder. "My family," Sarana continued, "rules one of the high houses. We hold power, wealth, and respect. But in my world, a woman without a husband is weak. She is prey." Daniel frowned. "So this is about power? You need a husband so your enemies won't attack you?" Her eyes flickered with pain. "It is more than that. Without a bond, I cannot claim my inheritance. My rights will be stripped away. My rivals are waiting like vultures. They will take my lands, my name, even my life." Daniel shifted uneasily. "And you expect me to just walk in and pretend? Won't they see I'm human?" Sarana stepped closer. Her cloak brushed his arm, and for the first time, he felt warmth from her body, like standing near a fire on a cold night. "They will see only what I allow them to see. Our technology can hide differences. To them, you will appear as one of us. But your words, your actions, those must convince them." He swallowed hard. The thought of facing an alien council, pretending to be a husband, was overwhelming. What if I fail? Serana's voice grew colder. Then we both die. Daniel's chest tightened. The weight of her words pressed on him. This was no simple act. His life was now tied to hers. But something else troubled him. Why me? He asked again. You could have chosen anyone on Earth, someone smarter, stronger, richer. Why pick me? For the first time, Serana hesitated. Her glowing eyes softened. Because you were invisible, she said. In your world, no one notices you. No one expects greatness from you. That makes you perfect. My enemies will not search too deeply. They will not believe I chose someone like you. And that will keep us safe. Her words cut deep. Daniel had always felt small, unnoticed, ordinary. Hearing it spoken aloud by an alien woman stung. But at the same time, there was truth in her voice. Before he could respond, the ship shuddered. Lights flashed across the walls. A voice, mechanical and urgent, filled the chamber. Approaching Zelira orbit. Prepare for descent. Serana's face hardened. We have no more time. You must listen carefully now. She placed her hands on his temples. Daniel gasped as images poured into his mind. Alien customs, greetings, gestures of respect, even words in a language he didn't know. It was like someone forcing knowledge into his brain. His head burned. He stumbled back, clutching his skull. What did you do? I gave you what you need to survive, Serana said calmly. You will know how to speak, how to act. But the memory will fade if you doubt yourself. Confidence is your shield. Daniel breathed hard, trying to steady himself. Alien words floated in his thoughts like strange music. His tongue felt different, his mind heavier. The ship trembled again. A window opened, and Daniel saw the planet below. Vast oceans glowing purple, continents shining with silver cities, skies filled with strange lights. It was beautiful and terrifying. Serana placed a hand on his shoulder. Remember this. In public, you are my husband. You are my strength. If they sense weakness, they will destroy us. Daniel looked into her glowing eyes. For the first time, he saw something beyond her coldness. Fear. She was afraid too. He nodded slowly. I'll play my part, but you'd better keep your promise. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. Do that, and you will have more than money. You will have a place in history. The ship descended, fire glowing across the window. The alien world grew closer with every second. Daniel's heart pounded. He was about to step into a world where he didn't belong, tied to a woman he didn't understand, holding a secret that could kill them both. And as the ship broke through the clouds, he realized one truth. His ordinary life was gone forever. The ship descended slowly through the thick purple clouds of Zelira. Lightning danced across the skies, but it was not like Earth's lightning. Here the flashes were green and gold, spreading like veins across the heavens. Daniel pressed his face close to the glass window, unable to look away. The city below looked like a dream. Towering crystal spires rose from the ground, shining like stars even in daylight. Bridges of light connected one tower to another. Airships floated in the sky, shaped like glowing wings, and the streets far below glimmered as if they were made of polished stone. Daniel's heart pounded. This is unbelievable, he whispered. Serana stood beside him, calm and unreadable. Her silver eyes reflected the alien city. It is also dangerous. Remember what I told you. Do not show fear. They can smell it. Daniel nodded, though fear already burned in his chest. He had agreed to pretend. But what if they discovered the truth? The ship landed on a vast platform that floated high above the city. The doors opened with a hiss and warm light poured in. Daniel followed Serana down the ramp, his legs heavy as if they carried stones. A crowd waited for them. Dozens, no hundreds, of tall alien figures stood in silence. Their eyes glowed faintly in different colors, some blue, some gold, some red. Their clothes shimmered with energy. They looked proud, elegant, and terrifying. As Daniel stepped onto the platform, the crowd erupted in sound. It was not cheering. It was a low, humming chant, deep and heavy, vibrating in his bones. He felt exposed, like prey in front of predators. Sarana held his hand tightly. Her voice was low. "Do not look down. Do not stumble. Walk as if you belong." Daniel forced himself to keep his head high. The glowing eyes of the crowd followed him. Some looked curious. Others looked suspicious. He felt sweat trickle down his back. At the far end of the platform stood a council of elders, their robes brighter than the rest. They sat on high seats carved from crystal. One of them raised a hand, and the crowd fell silent. "Sarana of House, Vera," the elder said, his voice echoing unnaturally loud. "You return at last, and you bring with you a husband." His eyes narrowed at Daniel. "But he is different." Daniel's stomach twisted, but Sarana stepped forward with confidence. "He is mine," she said firmly, "and he stands with me as my equal." The elder's gaze sharpened. "Then let him prove it. Let him face the first test." The crowd stirred, whispers spreading like fire. Daniel's heart sank. First test? Nobody had told him about this. 2 guards approached, carrying a tray. On it lay strange food, round fruits glowing faintly, chunks of meat that shifted colors, and a bowl of thick liquid that bubbled as if alive. The guards placed the tray before Daniel and stepped back. The elder's voice boomed again. "Let the husband of Sarana taste the food of our world. If he is true, he will endure. If he is false, the truth will be revealed." Daniel stared at the tray. His mouth went dry. The smell rising from the food was sharp, metallic, almost burning. Was this poison? Would it kill him? He glanced at Sarana. Her face was calm, but her eyes told him, "You must do this." The crowd waited. Every glowing eye focused on him. There was no escape. Daniel took a deep breath and picked up one of the glowing fruits. It was warm in his hand, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. Slowly, he raised it to his mouth and bit down. The taste exploded in his mouth, sweet at first, then bitter, then fiery hot. He coughed, his eyes watering, but he forced himself to swallow. Gasps rose from the crowd. The elder leaned forward. "Continue." Daniel picked up a piece of the shifting meat. It squirmed slightly between his fingers, making his stomach turn. He bit into it quickly before he could think. The texture was strange, like eating both flesh and liquid at once. His body screamed to spit it out, but he swallowed hard. The bubbling liquid was last. He lifted the bowl and the smell nearly made him gag. It was sharp, like acid mixed with flowers. Daniel closed his eyes and drank. It burned his throat like fire, spreading through his chest. His knees weakened, his vision blurred. For a moment, he thought he would collapse. The crowd murmured, waiting for him to fall. But then the burning faded. A strange warmth spread through his body, filling his veins with energy. His sight cleared, sharper than before. His skin tingled, almost glowing faintly under the alien light. The elder's eyes widened. "He survives." The crowd gasped, some in awe, some in disbelief. Sarana's grip on Daniel's hand tightened. For the first time, she allowed herself a small smile. Daniel stood tall, though inside he was trembling. He had passed the first test, but he knew this was only the beginning. As the crowd's hum grew louder, a figure in the back watched him closely. A tall alien man with golden eyes, sharper and colder than the rest. His lips curved into a smirk, and Daniel felt a chill. This man did not believe him, and Daniel knew his true challenge was yet to come. The crowd's hum slowly faded as the ceremony ended. Daniel's body still burned from the alien food, but he stood firm, his head high. Sarana guided him away from the platform, her face calm as ever, but her grip on his hand was iron. "You did well," she whispered, just loud enough for him to hear. Daniel forced a small laugh. "I almost died." Her silver eyes flickered. "Almost is enough. They moved through the shining halls of the Crystal Palace, guards walking on both sides. The walls glowed with soft light, alive with shifting colors. Daniel tried not to stare, but everything was overwhelming. The beauty, the size, the weight of so many eyes watching him. But one pair of eyes followed him more closely than the rest. From the back of the hall, the tall alien with golden eyes stood still, his cloak dark and heavy. His gaze was sharp, filled with quiet hostility. Daniel felt the man stare like a blade pressed to his neck. "Who is he?" Daniel whispered. Serana's face hardened. "Lord Kyle. He is my cousin, and my enemy." Daniel frowned. "Cousin? Then why?" "Because in my world, blood does not mean loyalty," Serana interrupted. "Kyle wants what I have: power, land, influence. If I fall, he rises." Daniel's stomach twisted. He had guessed there would be enemies, but seeing Kyle's cold expression made it real. That night, Serana brought Daniel to her private chambers. The room was vast, with walls of crystal that glowed softly like moonlight trapped in stone. Strange flowers floated in bowls of water, releasing a sweet, heavy scent. "You must rest," she said. "The first test was only the beginning. Tomorrow, they will watch you more closely. And Kale, he will not stop." Daniel sat heavily on a seat that looked carved from glass but felt warm, almost alive. "He already suspects something, doesn't he?" "Yes." Serana removed her cloak and stood by the window, her glowing form bathed in alien starlight. "Kyle has always believed I would fail. He thinks I am weak. Now he will try to prove it, by proving you are false." Daniel rubbed his face. "So, what do I do? Smile and wave?" Serana turned, her eyes sharp. "No, you must act as if you belong. Laugh when I laugh. Hold my hand when others watch. Speak with confidence. Every gesture, every word matters. If you falter, Kale will see. And he will strike." Daniel nodded slowly. He was no actor, but he had no choice. The rivals watch. The next morning, Serana led Daniel into the grand gardens of the palace. Crystal trees glowed with silver leaves, and fountains sang with liquid light. Alien nobles walked among the paths, their eyes glowing in every shade. Daniel forced himself to walk tall, holding Serana's hand. He smiled when she smiled, bowed slightly when she greeted others. He felt like a puppet, copying every movement. But Kale was there, watching, always watching. His golden eyes burned with suspicion. At one point, Kale approached them, his voice, smooth but sharp. "Serana," he said with a false smile. "You return, and with a husband none of us expected. Tell me, where did you find such a unique man?" Serana's grip on Daniel's hand tightened. "Fate brought us together," she said firmly. Kale's gaze slid to Daniel. "And what does fate give you, stranger? Wealth? Glory? Or something more dangerous?" Daniel forced himself to meet Kale's eyes. His heart pounded, but he kept, his voice steady. "Fate gave me a woman who stands stronger than any I have ever seen. That is enough." For a moment, Kyle's smile cracked. Then he chuckled softly. Strong words for one so new. He leaned closer, his voice low. "But strength is tested, not spoken. Remember that." Daniel's skin prickled. He knew then that Kale would not rest until he exposed him. The private act. That evening, Serana led Daniel into the inner courtyard. "Kyle does not believe us," she whispered. "We must be convincing even when we are alone. He will place spies everywhere." Daniel sighed. "So what, we just act married all the time?" Her eyes met his, serious. "Yes. Laughter, closeness, trust. Even in private, you must not forget the role. If you slip once, the walls have ears." Daniel felt awkward, but he nodded. As they sat together on a bench beneath a glowing tree, he tried to relax. He told her a small story from Earth, about a dog he once owned. Serana listened quietly, her head tilted. When he reached the funny part, she actually laughed, a soft, strange sound like bells in the wind. For a moment, the tension broke. They looked at each other and something real flickered between them. But Daniel quickly looked away. He reminded himself, this was all an act, a job, nothing more. Yet somewhere deep inside, he wondered if the line between acting and truth was already beginning to blur. Kyle's silent plot far above the gardens, Kyle stood on a balcony watching them. His golden eyes narrowed. The human was cleverer than he expected. He spoke boldly, laughed easily, and even made Serana smile. But Kyle did not trust smiles. He called for his guards, his voice cold. Watch them, follow them, every step, every word. I want proof. That man is no husband. He is a fraud. And when I reveal it, Serana will fall. The guards bowed and left swiftly. Kyle stood alone, his cloak fluttering in the wind. His lips curved into a thin smile. Let the game begin. Daniel did not know it yet, but the real test was not food or crowds or councils. The real test was surviving the trap his rival was already setting, and in the shadows of Zelira, danger was waiting. The days passed quickly, but Daniel never felt safe. Every step he took in the Crystal Palace was heavy with watching eyes. Every smile he gave, every laugh he shared with Serana, it all felt like walking on a thin rope over fire. And Kale was always there. His golden eyes followed Daniel like a predator stalking prey. Finally, Kale made his move. During a gathering in the Hall of Echoes, where the nobles of Zelira met under a ceiling of glowing stars, Kale stood before the council. His voice rang, out smooth but sharp. Cousins, elders, honored guests, he began, bowing low. We welcome Serana back to our world, and we honor her new husband. But tradition demands proof. Words and smiles are not enough. A bond must be tested. A marriage must be true. The hall grew silent. The elders turned their glowing eyes toward Serana and Daniel. Daniel felt his stomach drop. He already knew what was coming. Kale's lips curved into a cold smile. I challenged them to the trial of truth. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The trial was ancient, whispered in the corners of the palace. Daniel had heard the name from Serana before, but she had never explained it. Now he saw the fear in her eyes. Kale, she said sharply, this is unnecessary. Unnecessary? Kale tilted his head. If their bond is true, then let it shine. If it is false, then let the truth be revealed. Surely you have nothing to fear. The elders nodded slowly. One of them, an old figure, with eyes glowing blue, spoke. The trial is law. It cannot be denied. Tomorrow Serana and her husband shall face it. Daniel's hands clenched. He wanted to speak, to protest, but Serana's grip on his arm silenced him. Her eyes told him, stay quiet. Do not show weakness. But inside, Daniel's heart was pounding. Whatever this trial was, he was sure of one thing. If they failed, it would destroy them. The ritual hall. The next day, Daniel and Serana were led into a chamber deep within the palace. The walls pulsed with dim light, as if the stone itself breathed. Strange symbols glowed on the floor, circling a raised platform. In the center stood a crystal sphere floating in the air. It pulsed with a soft, eerie light. Serana's face was pale, her usual calm cracked. Daniel whispered, what is this trial? What do we have to do? She looked at him, her silver eyes troubled. The sphere reads memories. True couples share their pasts. Their souls intertwine, their lives reveal themselves. If we are false, the sphere will know. Daniel's stomach twisted. But we don't share any memories. Her hand trembled as she touched his arm. Then you must give me one. Something real. Something strong. I can link to it. Make it ours. But it must come from your heart, Daniel. Lies will not survive the sphere. The guards led them forward. The council and nobles gathered in silence, Kyle standing proudly at the front, his golden eyes shining with cruel expectation. Daniel stepped onto the platform beside Serana. The crystal sphere pulsed brighter, filling the hall with its glow, "N," Elder's voice echoed. "Share your bond. Let truth be revealed." A memory from Earth, the sphere's light wrapped around them like a net. Daniel felt his mind pulled, stretched open. Images of his past flickered in his head. His childhood, his lonely apartment, the nights he spent wondering if life would ever change. But one memory stood out. A dog. He remembered being a boy, sitting in a field with his dog, Max. The sun had been warm, the grass soft, and for once he had not felt alone. Max had run in circles, barking with joy, and Daniel had laughed until his chest hurt. It was the happiest memory he had. Daniel focused on it, holding it tight, offering it silently to Serana. "Take this. It's real. It's mine." Serana closed, her eyes. For a moment nothing happened. Then her silver glow brightened. The sphere pulsed, and suddenly, Daniel felt her mind touch his. He saw the memory again. But this time, she was in it. Serana stood beside him in the field, her cloak shimmering under Earth's sun. She knelt and stroked Max's head, smiling as if she had always been there. The memory twisted, reshaped itself, becoming shared. The sphere flared with light. The crowd gasped. The truth burns. The sphere's glow poured into the hall, projecting the memory for all to see. The nobles watched as Serana and Daniel laughed together in the field, as if they had truly lived that moment. Daniel's chest burned. It wasn't just an illusion. It felt real, so real that for a heartbeat he believed it himself. He and Serana, together in that field, happy and free. When the vision ended, silence filled the hall. The sphere floated higher, glowing brighter than ever before. The elder's voice shook. "The bond is true." The crowd erupted in sound, shouts of surprise, disbelief, even admiration. Serana stood tall, her face calm again, though Daniel could feel her trembling hand in his. Kyle's expression darkened. His golden eyes flared with anger, but he forced a smile. "Impressive," he said softly. "Very impressive." But Daniel knew that Cale didn't believe the trial. He had seen doubt in his cousin's eyes. Cale wasn't finished. This was only the beginning. A dangerous spark as the crowd dispersed, Serana led Daniel quickly out of the hall. Once they were alone in the corridor, she let out a breath she had been holding. "You did it," she whispered. "You gave me something pure, something strong. Without that, we would have been destroyed." Daniel shook his head. "No, we did it." For the first time, she looked at him differently, not as a tool, not as an actor, but as someone she could rely on. The silver glow in her eyes softened, and Daniel felt a strange warmth spread through him. But before he could speak, a shadow moved in the corner of the hall. One of Cale's spies slipped away silently. The trial of truth had been passed, but Cale would not stop. He would twist even this victory into a weapon, and Daniel knew greater dangers were coming. The trial of truth had ended in victory, but peace never came. For a few short days, Daniel and Serana walked the palace halls with heads high. Nobles whispered in the corridors, some in awe of their bond, others in disbelief. But Cale's golden eyes never left them. Daniel felt it at every gathering. Kyle smiled politely, bowed respectfully, but beneath that mask burned something darker. Anger sharpened into patience. He was waiting, planning. Serana noticed too. One night, in the quiet of her chambers, she stood by the window, the alien stars glowing across her silver skin. "Kyle is not finished," she whispered. "The trial proved us, but it also humiliated him. He will strike harder now." Daniel leaned against the wall, exhausted. "How? He can't challenge the trial again, can he?" "No," she said, her voice heavy. "But there are other ways. Lies. Traps. Secrets." Her eyes darkened. "And spies." The shadow in the court had happened during a council meeting. The chamber was filled with nobles, the crystal walls glowing bright. Daniel sat beside Serana, trying to keep his posture strong, his face calm. Cale rose from his seat, his dark cloak rippling like smoke. "Honored council," he began smoothly, "we have all seen the trial. We have witnessed Serana's husband survive the first test. But I bring new knowledge that changes everything." The hall grew silent. Daniel's stomach tightened. Cale raised a small device glowing with stolen light. With a flick of his hand, the device projected images into the air. Daniel froze. They were images of him, his apartment on Earth, his job, at the repair shop, the small life he had lived before Serana came. Gasps filled the chamber. Nobles leaned forward, whispering sharply. The images revealed the truth. Daniel was no Zilliran, he was human. Cale's golden eyes blazed with triumph. "Behold the truth. This man is not one of us. He is no husband. He is an outsider, Serana. Dragged from a lesser world to trick us all." The room erupted. Some shouted in outrage, others in disbelief. The council elders banged their staffs to silence the noise. Daniel's mouth went dry. His secret was exposed. Everything Serana had built could crumble in an instant. Serana's defiance. Serana stood slowly, her cloak shimmering with power. Her silver eyes locked on Cale, unflinching. "Yes," she said clearly. Her voice cut through the hall like a blade. "It is true." The crowd gasped louder. Even Daniel turned to her, shocked. "He is not born of our world," Serana continued. "He is human, a man from a distant star, but he is braver than any of you who hide behind tradition and lies." The council stirred uneasily. Kyle smirked, sensing victory. "You admit the fraud, you admit the deception." Serana's voice sharpened. "I admit nothing but truth. I chose him because he is strong, because he dares when others would flee, because when I needed someone to stand beside me, he did not hesitate. Can you say the same, Cale?" Cale's face twitched, but his smile returned quickly. "Your words are clever, but our laws are not swayed by cleverness. The punishment for deception is clear: banishment or death." The council murmured in agreement. The elders whispered among themselves, their glowing eyes shifting uneasily. Daniel's chest tightened. This was the end. They would kill Serana, and him with her. The crowd divides, but something unexpected happened. A few nobles rose from their seats. One of them, a tall woman with eyes glowing blue, spoke loudly. "Kyle brings truth, but Serana brings courage. She has faced every test. Her bond has shown true. Does that mean nothing?" Another voice joined, then another. Soon the hall split, some shouting that Serana was a traitor, others arguing that she had proven herself more than worthy. The council chamber became chaos. Cale raised his hand, his voice booming. "Then let us end this argument in the old way. The man will fight. If he is truly strong, let him prove it in combat. If he falls, the truth is revealed." The crowd roared in agreement. The council, bound by tradition, could not refuse. Daniel's blood ran cold. "Fight?" he whispered. Serana turned to him, her face pale but steady. "Yes, they will force you into the trial of combat. You must win, Daniel." He stared at her, his heart pounding. "I'm human. They're giants. Warriors. How am I supposed to fight them?" Her hand touched his cheek, gentle for the first time. "Not with strength, with your mind, with the courage you showed me. That is why I chose you." Daniel swallowed hard. The chamber spun with shouts and glowing eyes. But in that moment, he focused only on Serana. She believed in him, and somehow, that was enough to keep him standing. Cale's smile. The council declared the trial of combat would be held in 2 days. The hall emptied, nobles arguing loudly, their voices echoing in the corridors. Cale approached as Daniel and Serana were escorted away. His golden eyes gleamed with triumph. He leaned close to Daniel, his voice like poison. "You should have stayed in your broken little world," Cale whispered. "This place will be your grave." Then he smiled, sharp and cruel, before turning away. Daniel clenched his fists. Fear, twisting in his chest, but beneath the fear was fire. He would not die for Cale's amusement. 2 days. That was all the time he had to turn himself from a desperate human into a survivor in a world that wanted him gone. And as Serana led him through the glowing halls, Daniel knew one thing clearly. Betrayal had struck, and now the final test would decide everything. The arena of Zelira was carved into the heart of a mountain, its walls rising like jagged teeth toward the skies. Thousands of glowing eyes filled the seats, nobles and citizens alike, all waiting for blood. The trial of combat was not just law, it was entertainment. Daniel stood at the center of the vast stone floor. The air was heavy with smoke from torches, burning blue fire. His heart thundered, his palms slick with sweat. He had never been in a fight like this before. Back on Earth, the worst he faced were angry customers at the repair shop. Now he was about to face death in front of an alien crowd. Across from him stood Cale, tall, broad, his golden eyes burning with hatred. His armor shimmered black, edged, with glowing veins of gold. In his hands he held a spear that crackled with energy. Cale pointed the weapon at Daniel. This ends today. No more lies, no more tricks. You die, and Serana falls with you. The crowd roared. Daniel glanced at Serana. She stood at the edge of the arena, guarded but unbowed. Her silver eyes locked on him, fierce and desperate. She didn't speak, but her gaze told him everything. Fight. Survive. Daniel took a deep breath. He had no armor, no weapon, only his hands, his mind, and the courage that had carried him this far. The first clash. The gong sounded loud enough to shake the arena. Cale moved first, fast as lightning. His spear slashed the air, its energy humming. Daniel barely rolled aside, the weapon striking the stone where he had stood, leaving a burning scar. The crowd cheered wildly. Daniel scrambled to his feet, heart racing. He couldn't fight Cale, head on. One strike from that weapon would kill him. He needed another way. Kyle lunged again. Daniel ducked, grabbed a handful of dust from the arena floor, and threw it into Kyle's eyes. The alien staggered, roaring in rage. The crowd gasped, then laughed, half in amusement, half in disbelief. No one had ever fought so dirty in the sacred trial. Daniel didn't care. He ran, circling the arena, searching for something, anything, he could use. His eyes fell on a broken piece of spear left from a past fight. He snatched it up, the jagged shard heavy in his hand. Cale cleared his vision, his golden eyes burning hotter. You fight like a rat, he spat. Daniel tightened his grip on the shard. Maybe. But even rats survive. A human's trick. Cale charged again, his spear raised high. Daniel waited until the last second, then dropped flat to the ground. Kyle's weapon struck stone, the impact throwing sparks. Daniel rolled forward, slashing with his shard. The jagged edge cut across Cale's leg. Not deep, but enough to draw glowing blood. The crowd erupted in shock. No outsider had ever wounded a noble warrior before. Cale roared, his face twisted in fury. He spun, his spear sweeping wide. Daniel barely leapt back in time, the blade missing him by inches. His chest heaved, his muscles burning. He knew he couldn't last forever. Kyle was stronger, faster, trained for this. But Daniel had something Cale didn't. Imagination. Tricks. Desperation. As Cale advanced, Daniel spotted one of the arena's torch stands, burning with blue fire. An idea sparked in his mind. He ran toward it. Cale followed, spear raised. At the last second, Daniel kicked the base of the torch. The stand toppled, spilling blue fire across the floor. Cale stumbled back, caught off guard. Daniel lunged, driving his shard against Cale's armor, forcing him off balance. The alien crashed to the ground, the crowd roaring louder than ever. The final choice. Daniel stood over Cale, breathing hard, the shard pressed near Cale's throat. The crowd fell silent, waiting. Tradition gave him the right to kill. One strike, and his enemy would be gone forever. Cale glared up at him, golden eyes filled with rage. Do it. Prove you're no better than me. Daniel's hand trembled. He could end this. He could win the crowd, secure Serana's place, and never fear Kale again. But then he remembered Serana's words. Strength is not always force. Courage is choosing another way. Daniel dropped the shard. The crowd gasped. He stepped back, his voice loud and clear. I am not from your world. I don't fight with honor the way you do. I don't fight for blood. I fight to protect. I fight to survive. And I will not kill to prove myself. The silence was deep, heavy. Then, slowly, voices rose. Some shouted anger, but many others cheered, louder and louder, until the arena shook with sound. The elders rose from their seats. One of them lifted a hand. The trial is complete. The outsider has won. Not with strength, but with wisdom. The council accepts him. The bond stands. The crowd roared approval. Even those who had doubted now bowed their heads. A new beginning. Kyle was dragged away, his face twisted with fury and shame. Daniel turned, breathless, and saw Serana. She pushed past the guards, rushing to his side. For the first time, she smiled fully, without fear or coldness. You did it, she whispered. You chose mercy, and that choice made you greater than any warrior here. Daniel met her glowing eyes, his chest still heaving. I didn't come here to be a hero. I just wanted a chance. Maybe I found more than that. Serana touched his hand, her silver glow wrapping around him. From now on, you are not just my husband in name. You are my partner, my equal, and together, we will shape a new path. Daniel looked up at the alien, crowd at the glowing spires beyond the arena, and felt a strange calm. He had come from nothing, an ordinary man on Earth. But here, among stars and strangers, he had found something greater than money or escape. He had found purpose. And as the cheers echoed through the mountain, Daniel knew one truth. His story was no longer about survival. It was about belonging.